I married into a wealthy family thinking everything was legit, until one night I came home early and overheard my husband talking about something that definitely wasn't legal. I didn't move. I stood in the hallway listening. His voice was low and steady. "We will move it through the other account. No one is going to question it." A pause. "Then, yeah, she doesn't know anything. I will keep it that way." He was talking about me. I stepped back, opened the front door again, and closed it louder this time. Footsteps. When I walked in, he was already coming out of the living room. "Hey, you were home early." Like nothing happened. "Yeah," I said. "Meeting got cancelled." He nodded, relaxed, like there was nothing to hide. I watched him for a second longer than I should have. He did not notice. Or he pretended not to. When I met Noah Davis, nothing about him felt complicated. We met at a birthday dinner in downtown Indianapolis. He was quiet, easy to talk to, the kind of person who did not try to stand out. We started talking without effort. It just worked. When I asked what he did, he said, "Business analysis. Mostly routine stuff." That was it. No details. No follow-up. And I did not ask. We kept seeing each other. Coffee after work, dinners on weekends, walks through the city. Everything felt balanced. Normal. That is what made it easy. The first time I met his family, something felt off. Not obvious. Not enough to question out loud. Just controlled. Their house was in Carmel. Quiet neighborhood, gated entrance, security cameras that were not trying to be subtle. Inside, everything looked perfect. Clean lines, neutral colors, nothing out of place. Like no one actually lived there. His mother, Evelyn Davis, greeted me with a polite smile. Not warm. Not cold. Measured. "Emma, it is good to finally meet you." His father, James Davis, shook my hand instead of hugging me. Firm grip. Short eye contact. "We have heard a lot about you." I did not ask what that meant. Dinner felt like an interview. His mother asked questions about my job, but did not react to the answers. His father barely spoke, but when he did, it felt like he was testing something. Noah acted like everything was normal. So I told myself it was. I got used to it faster than I expected. The dinners. The quiet. The way conversations stayed on safe topics. The lifestyle. Trips that did not need planning. Restaurants I would not have picked myself. Bills I never had to think about. I did not question it. I just adjusted. And when Noah proposed, I said yes without hesitation. After we got married, the tone shifted. Subtle at first. His parents started including me in more conversations. Not welcoming me. Assessing me. His father started asking about my work in more detail. "What kind of clients do you handle? What level of access do you have?" It did not feel like small talk. His mother started saying things like, "Family works best when everyone contributes." I did not know what she meant. But I understood it was not optional. The first time his father brought it up directly was at dinner. "Emma," he said, setting his glass down, "you are adaptable. That matters." I did not respond. "There are ways you could be more involved." "With us." "With what exactly?" I asked. "Operations." That was the word he used. Not company. Not business. Operations. We handle coordination, structuring, and making sure the right people stay connected. It sounded vague on purpose. "I already have a job," I said. "This would not replace it," he said. "It would complement it." I did not agree. I did not refuse. I just nodded. That night, I asked Noah, "What does your dad actually do?" He did not answer right away. "It is complicated," he said. That is not an answer. It is just how my family operates. That word again. Operates. They like to keep things internal, he added. That does not explain anything. He looked at me calm. It does not need to. After that, I started noticing things I could not ignore. Phone calls he took in another room. Conversations that stopped when I walked in. Names I did not recognize. Places that did not show up when I searched them. Nothing clear. Nothing I could point to. Just patterns. Then came that night. The call. The sentence I was not supposed to hear. She does not know anything. I will keep it that way. I did not confront him. Not yet. Because I realized something in that moment. I was not just missing information. I was being kept away from it. And whatever it was not something they expected me to question. I keep replaying that night in my head. Not what he said. But how easily he said it. Like I was just outside of it. Like my life was happening next to something I was not allowed to see. Nothing has actually happened to me. No threats. No accusations. No proof. Just silence. Just patterns. Just a version of reality that only works if I stop asking questions. And the worst part is everything else is still good. My marriage. My life. The comfort. It is all still there. Untouched. Like nothing is wrong. I do not know if I am standing next to something dangerous or just something I do not understand. But I do know this. If I stay quiet, I get to keep everything. And if I do not, I might finally find out exactly what I married into. I did not confront Noah the next day. Or the day after that. I acted normal. That part was easy. I had already been doing it without realizing. He still made coffee in the morning. Still asked about my day. Still kissed me before leaving. Nothing changed. That was the problem. Because now I knew something was off and everything still looked the same. I started paying attention. Not in a way he would notice. I listened more. Watched more. The first thing I realized was how often his phone rang and how rarely he answered it in front of me. He would glance at the screen, stand up, and leave the room. At first, I told myself it was work. Then I noticed the timing. Late evenings. Weekends. Early mornings. Not normal hours. Every time he came back, he acted the same. Calm. Unbothered. Like nothing needed explaining. A few days later, I brought it up. You have been getting a lot of calls lately. He did not look up. Yeah, just some things I am helping with. What kind of things? Internal stuff. Internal. That word again. With who, I asked. My family. That was all he gave me. That week, his parents invited us over again. Dinner in Carmel. I did not want to go. But saying no meant explaining why, and I was not ready for that. So I went. The house felt exactly the same. Quiet. Perfect. Controlled. Nothing out of place. Even the table looked staged. Evelyn greeted me with the same measured smile. Emma, it is good to see you. Like we had not just seen each other. James was already seated. He did not stand. Sit, he said. Dinner started normally. Safe topics. Work. Things that did not matter. Then the tone shifted. James looked at me. How are you finding things lately? It sounded simple. It was not. Fine, I said. Adjusting well? I think so. He held my gaze for a second, then nodded. Like he confirmed something. Later, Evelyn spoke. Emma, you have been with us long enough to understand how important structure is. I did not respond. Everyone plays a role. That is how things stay stable. Noah shifted slightly beside me. Not uncomfortable. Just aware. James added, you have built a solid career. That is useful. Useful. Not impressive. Useful. For what, I asked. He did not answer directly. Access. Perspective. Positioning. Each word felt deliberate. Like he was watching for a reaction. I gave him nothing. After dinner, Noah stepped outside to take a call. That left me alone with his parents. Silence. Then Evelyn leaned slightly closer. Do not make this harder than it needs to be. My chest tightened. I am not sure what you mean. You are, she said. James said nothing. He just watched. When we got home, I waited. Not long. Your parents keep talking like I am supposed to be part of something. Noah did not look surprised. They just want you included. In what? He exhaled. It is just how things are handled. That is not an explanation. It is not meant to be. I stopped there. Not because I was satisfied. Because I understood something. This was not a conversation I was supposed to win. The next day at work, I could not focus. Everything felt louder in my head. The call. The dinner. The way his mother spoke like I had already agreed. By the afternoon, I made a decision. If no one was going to explain anything to me, I would figure it out myself. I started small. Names I had heard. Companies mentioned in passing. At first, everything looked normal. Logistics firms. Consulting groups. Financial services. Then patterns started showing. Different companies tied to the same address. Minimal online presence. Websites that said a lot without saying anything. No real people attached to them. Nothing illegal on paper. But nothing clear either. I mentioned it at work. Not directly. Just enough. Henry looked up from his screen. If multiple companies are registered under the same address, is that normal? Depends, he said. Could be shared space. Could be structuring. What kind of structuring? He gave a small pause. The kind people do when they do not want things to be obvious. That stayed with me. That night, Noah came home late. I was already in bed, pretending to be asleep. He moved quietly. Then his phone rang. He stayed in the room this time. I said I will handle it, he said quietly. A pause. No. She is not involved. Another pause. She will not be. I kept my eyes closed. Did not move. Did not react. But something settled in that moment. This was not something I had stepped into by accident. This was something they had already decided I would stay outside of. And for the first time, I started asking a different question. Not what they were doing, but why they were so sure I would accept not knowing. I stopped pretending it was just curiosity. At some point, it became something else. Not panic. Not fear. Just awareness. I was not missing pieces by accident. They were being kept from me. When James asked me to meet him for lunch, I said yes. No hesitation. If he was going to keep circling around whatever this was, I wanted to hear it directly. We met at a steakhouse downtown. Quiet. Expensive. Private. He was already there when I arrived. Of course he was. Emma, he said, like we were continuing something. I sat across from him. We ordered. He waited until the drinks came before speaking. You have been paying attention, he said. Not a question. I held his gaze. I have been trying to understand. He nodded. Good. Like I had passed something. I leaned forward slightly. I do not like not knowing what I am being pulled into. You are not being pulled, he said. Then what is this? You are being given access. That word again. Access. To what? Information. Position. Opportunity. None of it meant anything. Be specific, I said. He gave a faint smile. Specificity creates risk. That was the most honest thing he had said. I let that sit. Is it legal? I asked. He did not answer right away. He took a slow sip of his drink, then set it down. We operate within boundaries, he said. That is not the same thing. No, he said. It is not. At least he did not pretend. What does Noah actually do? I asked. He supports structure. That still does not mean anything. It means he understands how things move without everything being documented. That word landed harder than the rest. Documented. Some things do not benefit from visibility, he added. I drove home in silence. No music. No distraction. Just his words repeating. Not documented. Not visible. Within boundaries. Nothing clear. But nothing clean either. That night, I did not wait. As soon as Noah walked in, I asked him. I had lunch with your dad. He paused, just for a second. Then nodded. I figured you might. You did not warn me. I did not think you would go. That is not an answer. He sighed. What did he say? Nothing clear. That is the problem. He gave a small smile. That is how he works. Is that how you work too? The smile faded. I am not him. But you are part of it. I am connected to it. That is not different. It is, he said. How? He did not answer. I stepped closer. I asked him if it was legal. And? He did not say yes. Noah looked away, then back at me. He would not. That does not make me feel better. I am not trying to make you feel better, he said. That stopped me. Then what are you trying to do? Keep things simple. Simple. That word did not fit anything about this. This is not simple, I said. It can be, if you let it be. That sounded like a warning. I watched him carefully. Are you asking me not to look into this? I am asking you to trust me. That was worse. Because I realized something. Trust only works when both people have the same information. And we did not. The next few days felt different. Not louder. Quieter. Like something had settled into place. He stopped trying to explain things. I stopped asking him directly. We were still talking. Still living together. Still acting like everything was normal. But there was a line now. And both of us knew exactly where it was. I kept digging. More carefully this time. I started mapping things out. Company names. Addresses. Connections. The same patterns kept showing up. Different names tied to the same locations. Financial records that looked clean on the surface, but did not go very deep. No clear ownership. No clear structure. Just layers. One afternoon, I stayed late at work. Everyone else had left. I pulled everything up again. Side by side. Trying to make it make sense. That was when something clicked. Not proof, but direction. Every company led back to the same small group of people. Names that kept repeating in different roles. Different titles. Different businesses. Same circle. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the screen. This was not random. It was designed this way. Complicated enough to look legitimate. Vague enough to avoid questions. I thought about Noah. How calm he always was. How easily he moved around all of this. Like it was normal. Like it made sense. That night, I did something I had not done before. I went through his office at home. Not everything. Just enough. Folders. Documents. Notes. Nothing obvious. Nothing direct. But the same pattern was there too. Names. Connections. References that matched what I had already seen. I closed everything exactly how I found it. Sat there for a second. Then stood up. When Noah came home, I was already in the living room. Waiting. He looked at me, then at the silence. Something shifted in his expression. What is wrong? He asked. I held his gaze. I am starting to understand how this works. He did not respond. Not right away. Then, quietly, he said. That is exactly what I was trying to prevent. And that was the first time he sounded worried. That was the first time I saw it. Not control. Not calm. Concern. It was small. Easy to miss if I was not already looking for it. But it was there. What were you trying to prevent? I asked. Noah did not answer right away. He set his keys down slower than usual. Then he looked at me. You going too far? Too far into what? He exhaled. Into things that do not need to involve you. That word again. Need. Who decides that? I asked. He did not say it. But the answer was obvious. Not me. I stayed calm. I am already involved, I said. I just was not told. That is not the same thing. It is to me. He shook his head slightly. Emma, you are looking at pieces without context. Then give me context. It is not that simple. Everything about this is not simple. Silence. Not tense. Not loud. Just heavy. Then I asked the question I had been avoiding. What actually happens if I do not stay out of it? He looked at me for a long second. Then said, things get complicated. That was not an answer. It was a boundary. The next morning, nothing changed on the surface. He still made coffee. Still asked how I slept. Still left like everything was normal. But now I knew something else. He was not just avoiding the truth. He was protecting something. Later that week, Evelyn invited me out. Just the two of us. Lunch in Carmel. I almost said no. Then I realized I needed to hear what she would say without Noah there. So I went. She was already seated when I arrived. Of course. Emma, she said, smiling lightly. I am glad you came. I sat down. This was not going to be casual. I could feel it. We ordered. She waited until the server left. Then she looked at me directly. You have been asking questions. Not a question. Yes, I said. She nodded. That is natural. Then why does it feel like I am not supposed to? Because there are limits to what is useful to understand. Useful. That word again. Useful did not mean true. It meant controlled. I held her gaze. You keep talking like I am already part of this. You are part of the family, she said. That is not the same thing. Her expression did not change. It becomes the same thing over time. I leaned back slightly. What exactly do you expect from me? She folded her hands neatly. Awareness. Discretion. Alignment. Alignment. With what? With how things are handled. That answer meant nothing. And everything. I did not look away. And if I am not aligned? For the first time, she paused. Not long. Just enough to notice. Then she said, that would make things harder than they need to be. The same sentence. Word for word. I felt it settle. This was not a suggestion. It was pressure. Quiet. Controlled. But real. On the drive home, I did not feel confused. I felt certain. Not about what they were doing, but about how they operated. Nothing was said directly. Nothing was explained clearly. But everything was understood. That night, I did not wait for Noah to bring it up. Your mom met with me today, I said. He nodded once. I figured. Of course he did. She said I need to be aligned. He closed his eyes briefly. Emma. No, I said. You do not get to dismiss this. I am not dismissing it. Then explain it. He looked at me steady. You are turning this into something bigger than it needs to be. It is already big. You just will not say it out loud. Another silence. Then I said it. You are moving money, are you not? He did not react. Not surprised. Not defensive. Just still. That was worse. I stepped closer. You are routing things through different companies. Keeping things off record. That is what this is. He looked at me carefully. You are making assumptions. Then correct them. He did not. That was my answer. We stood there, facing each other. Everything calm. Everything controlled. But nothing the same. I took a step back. I am not going to be managed. No one is managing you. You are. Your family is. Everyone is. Except me. He ran a hand through his hair. This is exactly why I did not want you involved. I already am. No, he said quietly. You are choosing to be. That stayed with me. Choosing. Like this was still optional. That night, we did not argue. We did not raise our voices. We just stopped talking. I lay awake longer than usual. Not trying to figure out what they were doing. Trying to figure out something else. Why they were so sure I would stay. Because now I understood something I did not before. It was not about whether I knew. It was about what I would do once I did. And I had not decided yet. But they had. They were counting on me to stay quiet. To accept it. To adjust. The problem was, I was not sure I could. After that night, I stopped trying to get answers from Noah. Not because I trusted him. Because I understood he was never going to give me anything direct. Every answer came with a filter. Every explanation avoided something. So I stopped asking. And started focusing on what I could prove to myself. I became more careful. Not obvious. Not aggressive. Just consistent. I paid attention to patterns. Who called? When they called. What changed after? I noticed how often certain names came up. How often they disappeared again. Nothing stayed visible for long. At work, I stayed late more often. Pulled up everything I had been tracking. Company names. Addresses. Overlaps. I started mapping connections. Not in a way that would hold up legally. But enough to see structure. And once I saw it, I could not unsee it. Everything connected back to the same small group. Different companies. Different titles. Same people. Rotating roles. Layered. Money moved. Not randomly. Directed. Quietly. Through places that looked legitimate on the surface. But never stayed in one place long. Still nothing illegal I could point to directly. But nothing clean either. One night, I stayed later than usual. Everyone else had gone home. The office was quiet. I had everything open on my screen. Side by side. Trying to see if I missed something. That was when I noticed it. A name I recognized. Olivia Johnson. I had heard it before. Not in conversation. In passing. At dinner. At the house. Always mentioned carefully. I searched again. This time more focused. She showed up across multiple companies. Always in financial roles. Always temporary. Always moving. That was not random. That was function. The next day, I asked Noah. Casual. Controlled. Do you know someone named Olivia Johnson? He looked at me. Just for a second longer than normal. Yes. What does she do? Accounting. That was all he said. I watched him. Nothing else? He shook his head slightly. Just accounting. I did not push. But I knew that was not the full answer. That night, I made a decision. If I could not get clear answers from him, I would get them from someone who understood the structure. A few days later, I saw her. At the country club in Carmel. I was not supposed to be there alone. But I went anyway. She was sitting at a table near the back. Laptop open. Phone beside her. Working. I walked up. Olivia? She looked up immediately. Measured. Yes? I sat across from her. Emma Davis. A pause. Recognition. Of course. Silence for a second. Then she closed her laptop. What can I help you with? Her tone was neutral. Careful. I did not ease into it. I know you work with my husband's family. She did not react. I know what I said, she replied. That told me everything. I leaned forward slightly. I am not asking you to explain everything. Just enough to understand what I am standing in. She watched me. Long enough to decide something. Then she spoke. Everything you are looking at is structured. That word again. Structured. To do what? To move without friction. That answer was too clean. I held her gaze. And the things that are not supposed to be seen? She did not answer right away. Then she said, those are not written down. That was the closest anyone had come to saying it directly. I sat back slightly. So this is intentional. Yes. No hesitation. I nodded slowly. Then asked the only thing that mattered. And Noah? She paused. Then chose her words carefully. He understands enough. Enough to do what? Enough to stay within the structure. That was not reassuring. I stood up. Thank you. She nodded once. Like the conversation had already ended the moment it started. On the drive home, everything felt clear. Not because I had proof. Because I had confirmation. They knew exactly what they were doing. They just made sure no one said it out loud. That night, Noah was already home when I walked in. He looked at me immediately. Something in his expression had changed. You went to see her. Not a question. I did not deny it. Yes. He exhaled slowly. Emma. No. I cut him off. I am done pretending I do not see what is happening. Silence. Then he said, you are stepping into something you cannot step back out of. That landed. Not loud. Not threatening. Just certain. I held his gaze. I am already in it. No, he said quietly. You are at the edge of it. That is different. I shook my head. Not anymore. He watched me for a long second. Then said something I had not heard from him before. Then you need to decide what matters more. I did not ask what he meant. I already knew. Everything I had. Or the truth. That night, I did not try to sleep. I sat in the dark, thinking. Not about what they were doing. About what I was going to do next. Because for the first time, this was not about understanding anymore. It was about choice. And I could feel it. Whatever I chose next. There was no going back. The next morning felt normal. That was the strangest part. Sunlight through the window. Coffee brewing. Noah moving around the kitchen like nothing had changed. But something had. Not in the house. In me. He set a cup in front of me. You should eat something. I did not touch it. We need to talk, I said. We already did. No, I said. You told me enough to understand what this is. Now I need to decide what I am doing with it. He sat across from me. Quiet. Waiting. I kept my voice steady. I am not going to be part of it. No reaction. Just a slow breath. That is your choice, he said. It is. A pause. Then I added. I am also not going to pretend I do not see it. That changed something. Slightly. He leaned back. What does that mean? It means I am not playing along. I am not asking questions you will not answer. And I am not stepping into whatever your family expects. Silence. Longer this time. He nodded once. Okay, that was it. No argument. No pressure. Just acceptance. That should have felt like relief. It did not. Because I understood something in that moment. He was not fighting me. Because he already knew how this would go. The next few days were quiet. Not tense. Not hostile. Just distant. We moved around each other like everything was still normal. But the line between us was clear now. And neither of us crossed it. Then his parents invited us over again. Dinner. Same house. Same table. Same controlled atmosphere. This time, I did not hesitate. I went. Evelyn greeted me the same way. Polite. Measured. James nodded as we sat down. No one mentioned anything at first. Dinner started like always. Safe conversation. Nothing real. Then James looked at me. Have you given thought to what we discussed? I met his gaze. Yes. And? I am not getting involved. No hesitation. No softening. Just clear. Silence settled over the table. Evelyn did not react. Not outwardly. But I saw it. The shift. James leaned back slightly. You're certain? Yes. Another pause. Then he nodded once. Understood. That was it. No argument. No pressure. Just acceptance. And that was when I knew. This was not over. The rest of dinner stayed controlled. No one brought it up again. But everything felt different. Like I had stepped out of something I had not fully entered yet. When we got home, Noah stopped in the doorway. They will not ask again. I looked at him. I know. That is not a good thing, he said. I did not respond. Because I already understood. That night, I lay awake. Not confused. Not unsure. Just aware. I had made my choice. I was not going to be part of it. The next morning, it started. Nothing dramatic. Nothing obvious. Just small changes. An email at work. A client account reassigned. A meeting I was supposed to lead given to someone else. I asked about it. Got vague answers. Restructuring. Internal decisions. Nothing personal. But it was personal. I could feel it. By the end of the week, more things shifted. Access removed from projects I had been managing for months. Less communication. More distance. No direct conflict. No clear reason. Just quiet adjustments. That was how they operated. That night, I sat in the living room while Noah moved around the kitchen. You knew this would happen, I said. He did not deny it. I knew it might. Might, I repeated. He looked at me. You stepped away from something that supports a lot of what you have. That was the closest he had come to saying it directly. I held his gaze. So this is the consequence. He did not answer. He did not need to. I nodded slowly. Okay. That was the moment something settled. Not fear. Not regret. Just clarity. They were not going to force me. They were not going to threaten me. They were just going to make staying difficult. And somehow, that made the choice easier. I used to think the hardest part would be finding out the truth. It was not. The hardest part is what comes after. Nothing about my life collapsed. Nothing dramatic happened. Everything just shifted. Quietly. Carefully. The same way everything else in their world works. I still wake up in the same house. Still live the same life on the surface. But I see it now. All of it. The structure. The silence. The way everything only works if you agree not to look too closely. And I chose not to agree. I do not know what this will cost me long term. I do not know how far this reaches. Or how much of my life has already been shaped by it. But I do know this. They expected me to stay quiet. To adjust. To accept it. And I did not. So now I am left with one question. Walking away from something like that sounds simple. But is it ever really that simple once you already know?